This video is to lead you through the tutorial for the LibreOffice spreadsheets. And in the folder where you have course documents, you should be able to find a folder called Spreadsheet Tutorials. Double-click on this word or on the folder, and that will bring you into the next level. Let's go to English. We'll double-click with the left mouse button on the folder. And we want to go to the Albright tutorial. So let's go there. Double-click on Albright. Now notice there are 3 documents here. One is for Excel. If you're interested in Excel, you can use this tutorial. It's a parallel version to what we'll be doing. Another one says Albright LibreOffice tutorial. This is a more complete version of the tutorial. It includes some additional functions. Today I'm going to talk about this Albright LibreOffice tutorial brief. It contains the essential functions that we need for the spreadsheets that we will be creating. So if I double-click on this, LibreOffice is open, and the LibreOffice examples that you'll work on are in this document. So the first suggestion is that you save this file under another name so you can make changes and not mess up the original document. How do you do that? You go to File and go to Save As, and then you'll save it as something else. Let's see, I'll just call it by my initials here. All right, so now the changes I make here won't affect the original document. There's this note here. If in the text it says Control plus Home, that means you hold down the Control key and press the Home button. Sometimes it will say Alt plus E or something like that. That means you hold down the first key and press the second key. Let's go through these topics. Moving to the top of the sheet. I'll go through these quickly. Here's the practice sheet that you do it on. Double-click with the left mouse button in the sheet. It will turn into a sheet. Then do what it says. Hold down the Control, hit Home. There you go. Okay. That was the easy one. Next one, to move around. As described here, I'll click into this spreadsheet here. If I go here, hold down the Control, press the right arrow. I moved over there. Press the down arrow, down in the lower corner. Now I'm at C9, and now you can see I'm at C3. So I can hit the arrow keys while holding down the Control button. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Splitting the screen. Double-click in here. The screen splitter is right here. There you go. And you can split the screen like this also. Now what you can do now is independently scroll these different windows. For instance, if I want to go out to Z, I can go out to Z here. And it doesn't change the view here. All right, that's useful for looking at different places in the spreadsheet at the same time. I can restore to my original view by taking this back down and taking this back across. We won't be using split screen very much, but it is a useful function. Okay, let's go to selecting Arrange. This is very important. There's a number of ways described to do this. The way I usually do is hold down the Shift button and use the arrows to move around, and that will select the range. That has a lot of adaptability when you're selecting a square range. The other ways that are recommended, click on the top corner that you want, hold down the Shift button, click on the bottom corner that you want, and that will select the range. Or the alternative way, the beginner's way, is to click in the cell, hold down the button, and move it around, and that will select. All right, 3 different ways of doing it. All right, let's see. If you want to select a larger range, he suggests some different ways of doing this. For instance, the first one says, click in here, go here, Hold down the shift, press the down arrow, it takes me to the bottom. Well, I guess it doesn't take me to the bottom. I have to hold down the, let's try that again. Hold down the control, takes me to the bottom. Try that again. Let's go back up. I know control home. I think I got it right this time. Hold down the control and the shift and go down to the bottom. That selects the entire first column. Then hit the right arrow, that will select the square range. Right. Again, there are multiple ways of doing this. Selecting more than one range. If I want to select all of the ranges in this sheet, well, it looks like part of it's missing. Okay. I select the first one in the usual way. I can hold down the shift and click here. That will give me my first one. Then hold down the control button and you can select subsequent regions the same way. Just click there, hold down the shift, click there. That will give me my second region. Keep the control button down, hold down the shift button. Whoops, made a mistake. Let's try it again. Here, shift, click there. Hold down the control button, click here, shift, click there. Hold down the control button, here, click shift, there. Now this takes a little bit of practice. As you can see, I messed up myself. This is sometimes useful when you're making graphs, but we won't be using this feature very much. It is good to know that it's there. The basic idea is if you want to select multiple regions, the control allows you to do that. All right, copying and pasting. There are a number of ways to do this. For instance, if I want to copy, if I want to create a formula here, there's a formula there, and I can copy that. He says use Control C. Okay. Then I can select the area that I want to paste it to. I can hit Control V, and it will paste the same formula to every cell in that column. I will tell you another way that we will commonly do this. I'll show you how to do this. Let me undo what I just did by pressing Control plus V. Another way that we will commonly do this is take the first one, select this region here, and then use Edit, Fill, Down. That will accomplish the very same thing. Okay. So there's two ways of doing that as well. Let's move on to the next. You can also use the toolbars as he mentioned. I can click in here and I can click here and I can copy, edit, copy, and then I can select the range that I want to copy it to, edit, paste. All right, so again, there are multiple ways of doing these things. I actually prefer using the menu because then I don't need to remember anything. But if you remember those shortcuts, it can be quicker. All right, to continue, we show how to copy with the drag handle. So we'll do the same thing we did before in a different way. If we go into this spreadsheet and click on the 70, which has this formula A2 times B2, by the way, you can highlight this by double-clicking on the cell, and it shows A2 in blue and B2 in red. I'm going to press Enter. And if I want to use the drag handle, I go down to this square here, and my cursor turns into a plus sign. Then I hold down the left mouse button and pull down the mouse, and it gives me the formulas in every cell in this column. If I click in here, you see that the formula has changed. It's dealing with the entries in column A and column B on the same row. Let me show you another way to do this. Whoops, I made a mistake there. In order to disallow a mistake, you press the Escape button, and it won't include that in the cell that I just typed in. All right, I'm going to undo this copying that I just did by holding down the Control plus Z. And to show you another way to do this, I can select this entire area here, edit, fill, down. Okay, so that's another way to do it. Well, let's go on. Let's see. Here, this is somewhat optional. You can do that yourself. Sometimes you only want to paste the values and not the formulas. So for instance, here it says copy the range D2 to D8 to itself, but paste values. If I click in the cell here, this is a formula. You can see it's B2 times C2. If I just want to keep the values without the formula, I'm going to hit escape here. I can click and select everything in the column. I'm going to do Control C for copy. And then I'll go to Edit, Paste Special. Now here I don't want to paste all. I only want to paste the values. So I'm going to uncheck all of these things. And I think it doesn't say values, does it? I think I should just select text and numbers. Okay. And let's see how that works. Now if I click here, it only gives me the numbers and the formulas are gone. That can be useful when working with random numbers. We may see that a little bit later in the class. All right, now if we want to move something, you use Control X for cutting, and then you use Control V for pasting. If I want to move the range A2 through C8 to the range D2 through F8, I can click here, select this area. I can use Control X for cutting. All right, and you can see it's gone. And I want to move to D2 through F8. And I can use Control V for pasting after I select D2. All right, and let's see what happened here. The numbers have changed here. Notice that even the formulas have changed. When I was back here, the formula was A3 times B3. Now when I move the whole set of cells, the formula itself changes to refer to the new locations of the two data columns. Okay. All right, let me go on. All right, here it talks about absolute and relative references. This is very key in the work that we're going to be doing. There's a great deal of usage of absolute and relative references. For instance, in this example, you want to use always these two parameters in computing these results here. When you have a cost, fixed cost plus variable cost, that means that the total cost is going to be the fixed cost plus the variable cost times the number of units produced. So let's go in and do that. Suppose I put that formula in here. I'll type equals for a formula, and then fixed cost plus variable cost times units produced. Okay. Now suppose I take this value and I fill right. There are many ways to do this. You could drag this to the right. I usually prefer simply to use the shift and the arrow to select the range. I go edit, fill, right. All right, now we're getting $0 here. There's a problem. What's going on? If I double click on this, notice that it's not referring to the fixed cost and variable cost. Because my formula has moved over one, the references have also moved over one. To prevent these from moving over one, I need to fix the reference. All right, so I'm going to hit escape because I don't want that. Let me go back to my first equation here and modify it. So I'm going to click on this cell. Actually, let me double click on this cell. The fixed cost will always be the same for all of these cells. So I'm going to click in the B2, and as it says in the document, I'm going to hold down the shift and press F4. This creates dollar signs, which means that the reference will be fixed when I copy the reference. All right, let me go here to this other reference. I also want to fix this reference to B3. Shift, hold down the shift, and press F4. Right. Let's see what happens now when I fill to the right. I'm going to select this range, edit, fill, right. All right, now it looks correct. Let's see if this formula is right. Yes, it's using the fixed cost here and the variable cost here. We'll be using this feature again and again as we do spreadsheets. Okay, let's see what we want to do here. We want to use addresses to create the correct formulas in these cells. Now, the revenue should be equal to the unit price times the number sold. So suppose I put that formula in this cell here, equals unit price times units sold. Okay. Now that's correct for this cell. Suppose I try to use the fill down to get all of these values here. Edit, fill, down. All right. It looks like there's a problem. I don't know what this sharp, sharp, sharp is. When you encounter a problem, click on the problem, or in this case, double-click on the problem, and you'll see why there's a problem. Here, in calculating this cell, it took the correct unit price, but it did not take the correct units sold. The point is that the units sold should be the same for every revenue in this column. So that should be a fixed reference. So let me go back and change that. I'm going to hit escape to get out of here. And we'll go back here and fix it. The units sold should be fixed. So I'm going here and I'm going to hold down the shift, press F4. That makes that a fixed reference. All right. Let me go and fill down again now. Edit, fill, down. And these look correct now. All right, then let's go across and see what happens. I want to fill this formula to the right and create and fill the entire table. Edit, fill, right. All right, now we're having a similar problem here. What's going on? All right, if we look at this, notice that for this one, it's not taking the correct unit price. It's this unit price that must be fixed now. But the problem is, I already know that I want different unit prices for each of these different entries. What should I do then? Here it looks like I want a fixed unit price. Here it looks like I want a variable unit price. The answer lies in the way that you fix it. You want some parts fixed of this reference and some parts not fixed. For instance, the unit price is always in column B. So when computing a unit price, you always want to refer to column B. However, there are unit prices for each different row, so you don't want to fix the row in the reference. The same thing works for units sold. There's a unit sold that is different for every column. However, you always want to be referring to row 4 because all of the units sold are in row 4. So I'm going to hit escape. And let me go back to my original formula and see if I can fix this. All right. V5 is the unit price. Now, as I mentioned, unit price is always in column B, but in different rows. So really, I want to fix the column reference and not the row reference. So I'm going to click before the B and type $. That will fix the column and not the row. On the other hand, for units sold, I want to fix the row and not the column. So I'm going to click after the $sign and remove the $sign. When I type enter now, and I take this and let me select this entire range here. I can do fill down and fill right the same way. Fill down. So now these are all correct, but these are still incorrect. When I fill right, now these formulas will carry over to the right. Edit, fill, right. All right, now this is looking like a correct table. You may wonder, what about these lines here? I don't want the dark lines in the middle of my table. Well, you can do this kind of thing. I'm going to select this range and then go up here for borders. Let me first take away all the borders so they're all gone. And then I'll go back and add outside border, which is here. And you can see I now have an outside border. Okay. All right, now we go on to inserting and deleting rows or columns. So they ask, for instance, I want to insert a row for February, a row for April and May. So there are two ways shown to do this. If I click in here, I can click on a row number here, and then I can press Alt-I to get my insert menu. And I want to insert rows. Now notice that in this case it inserted rows above. So that's not what I wanted. I wanted a row below. So I'd better click on the fifth row to insert a row above. So I'm going to undo what I just did by pressing the Control and hitting Z. I will select the fourth row this time and hit Alt-I to get the insert menu. And we'll insert rows. And it did insert correctly a row. I want to insert two rows here, so I'm going to press 6 here. Alt-I for insert. Now I can press Alt-I, or I can simply go up here and click on insert. Notice the underlined letter in the menu topics here. If, for instance, I want to go to Window, all I have to do is press Alt-W, and it will take me up to the Window menu. For example, if I do this, Alt-W, it goes to the Window menu. So you have two options there. You can either press Alt and the underlined letter to get up to the menu, or you can simply click on the menu heading. All right, let's continue with what we're doing. I want to insert two rows above this sixth row here. So I can click here, and I can do Alt-I, and then I want to insert rows. Now to insert the second row, let me use a different method. I can right-click on this 6, and it gives me an option, Insert Rows Above. So now I have rows for February, April, and May. I can type in my February, April, and May. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. We'll go down to our next one. We can insert columns in the same way. I'll double click here. If I want to insert a column before Jones, I can right click on the C, insert columns left. If I want to insert a column before Taylor, right click on the E, insert columns left. Now if I could also have done that, I'll undo it by pressing Control Z. I could also have done that by clicking on E, insert columns, and it will do the same thing. And I could do Baker and Smith. All right. All right, to delete rows, there's a similar process. We want to go to the Edit menu and choose Delete Cells. Okay. So here it says I want to delete products K322 and R543. So I double click on this cell, this sheet here. I want to delete this entire row, so I click on the row, Alt-E for Edit menu, and then Delete. I want to delete cells. and the entire row is gone. I can click on this row here. Alt-E brings up the delete menu, delete cells, it's gone. Okay. To fill a series, there's a fast way of doing this. If I want to fill series here from start here in 1, and I want to fill down to however far it goes, I can go to the Edit, Fill, Series. I start with 1. I'm going down. It's a linear series. So I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the increment is 1. So if I press OK, notice that it's giving me these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I had wanted to skip 2 each time, I could do the same thing. 1, select this here. Suppose I want to do 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I take Edit, Fill, Series, and Start Value is the same. It's still linear. The increment now is 2. So now it will skip 2 each time. And you have all the odd numbers. Okay. We will often be using mathematical and other functions. For instance, if I want to find the total cost, here it says use the sum function in cell B10 to calculate the total of all costs. The cell B10 is here, so I'm going to take the sum and put a parenthesis. Now notice that it gives me a prompt as what to enter here. It says if I want to take the sum of numbers, I need to select the numbers now. So I'm going to go ahead and select this entire range. It doesn't matter that there are blank cells. It will add 0 to my sum. Close the parenthesis and enter, and that's my total cost. Okay. Okay. Count produces the number of values in each numerical range. Okay. So if we have a number enrolled and number who took exam, number enrolled in this case are the number of entries, and count gives the number of numerical values. So for instance, absent is an entry, but it's not a numerical value. So if I want the number enrolled here, I would use the count A function, which will give all of the values. So I'm going to go here and scroll down to get all the values. Okay, there are quite a few. And close it. All right, so that was 72. For the number who took the exam, I'm going to use the count function. And I'll do the same thing here. It looks like I think I can just do Control Shift down arrow and get everything. And then close my parenthesis. And let's see what happened. Okay, it didn't count the ones who were absent. Okay. In this case, we want to find the average of the exam scores here. So here we want to compute 2 averages. We want to compute the average exam score for students who took the exam. So here we go ahead and type equals average. And we'll just take these exam scores as they are. To get to the bottom of the selection, hold down Control Shift and close the parenthesis and press Enter. And you can see that I get this average here. To get the average exam score if absent students get zeros, let me copy this exam score. Control Shift Enter. I'm going to do Control C for copy. Then I'll go back up to Control Home. Go over to this place. Control V for paste. Now what I want to do is replace the occurrences of average, I'm sorry, notice that there are places where it says absent. I want to replace these absences with zeros, because what I want to compute now is the average exam score if absent students get zeros. So I'm going to select this column. Okay, so I've selected column C. I'm going to edit, and I'm going to do find and replace. Now, there are several places where it says absent. I want to change those into zeros. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the next absent. There's one. I certainly want to change that into 0. So I'm going to replace, and then we'll find the next one. I do want to replace that absent also with 0. Let me go ahead and find the next one. Okay, it looks like I've reached the end of the sheet. Do I want to continue at the beginning? Answer is yes. Okay. And looks like I missed one here. I certainly want to change that to a 0. So I want to replace that. And let's find the next one. And search to the end of the sheet. Do you want to continue at the beginning? Let's just make sure. And it says the search key is not found. So I found all of the absents in this column and replaced them with zeros. So I'm going to close. And I'm going to go back up to this cell, B2, where I want to take the average of students. And if absent students get zeros, that will figure into the average. So here I'm going to take the formula equals average, and I want to select the scores in this column. So click here, hold down Control Shift, down arrow, close the parenthesis, done. You see that the average is somewhat lower. All right, well, let's move on to the next thing. We have max and min. We can figure this one out as well. It's not working, but we'll get there. There we go. All right, so what are they asking for? We want to figure out this result here. This I want the minimum sales in January and the maximum sales in January. The minimum sales in February, maximum sales in February. All right, so how are we going to do this? This is going to be equals min. Now the sales in January are in this row here. I think that's it. There we go. And I'll close the parenthesis and press enter. Now notice that the February sales are aligned right below the January sales. So I can actually take this result and you do the fill down, and that will give me my minimum February sales. As far as maximum sales are concerned, I need to type again the formula equals max, open, select these cells here, close parenthesis, enter, and I can get fill down, I can select, I can do select the edit, fill down like this. Okay. Sometimes you want to put a conditional statement. You want to have one result if one option takes place and another result if another option takes place. Let's take a look here where we have this sheet here. It takes a minute to open. For each product, if the end inventory is less than or equal to 50 units, enough units are ordered to bring stock back up to 200. Otherwise, no units of that product are ordered. Okay? So depending on the end inventory, I'll order or not. If the end inventory is less than or equal to 50, then an order is made. So what I want to put here is it's either yes if the number is less than or equal to 50, and it's no otherwise. To do this, I type equals. You always begin a formula with the equals. Type if, open the parenthesis. First, it says for me to give a logical test. The logical test here depends on this value here. So I'm going to click this value here. If that value is less than or equal to 50, then I do want to order. Then I should say yes. Now to say yes, I need to put the yes in quotes. All right, so that's the then value. There's the value otherwise, so I'm going to press another comma. The otherwise value is no. So in other words, if this number is less than or equal to 50, I do place an order. If not, I don't place an order. Okay. So in that case, it's no. All right, and I can go ahead and fill down, select this range here, and I can do edit, fill down. So that tells me where the orders are placed. Now, the number of units are ordered. You only order if there is a order. So I'm going to have another if statement depending on the results in this column. So I'm going to have equals if. The question is, if this is equal to yes, in this case, I want to order enough to bring the stock back up to 200. Okay, so the number ordered would be 200 minus the value in here. That's only going to happen if there is an order. If not, then I shouldn't order any. I'll place a 0 there. Okay. So in this case, you see there were no units ordered because the stock didn't go down far enough. So let me select this range here, edit, fill, down, and you can see the correct orders are made. In this case, when there are 40 units, they ordered 160 to bring it back up to 200. Okay. Let's see if that's, and that's it. So have fun with your spreadsheets, and we'll be using